When most people hear the word Panama, they think of one thing, the Panama Canal. But what if I told you that this small country has no army, helped create Great Britain, contains one of the last truly wild regions on Earth, and is home to more bird species than the United States and Canada combined? Today, we're exploring 15 fascinating facts about Panama that reveal a side of the country most people never see. Let's begin. The country with no army. Panama is one of the very few countries in the world that does not maintain a permanent military force. After decades of political turmoil and military influence, the country made a historic decision in the late 20th century to abolish its army entirely. Instead of spending large amounts of money on tanks, fighter jets, and military bases, Panama directs more resources toward public services, infrastructure, education, and security institutions. National defense responsibilities are handled by specialized police units, border services, and maritime agencies, rather than a traditional army. This decision was largely influenced by the events surrounding the fall of military ruler Manuel Noriega and the political changes that followed. Today, many Panamanians view the absence of a military as an important part of their national identity. The country has remained relatively stable, while relying on diplomacy and international cooperation rather than military power. Visitors are often surprised to learn that a nation controlling one of the world's most important trade routes does not have an army guarding it. Panama's strategic location, strong international relationships, and economic importance have helped make this unique system possible. It remains one of the most fascinating political experiments in the modern world. The world's largest ship registry. Panama may be a relatively small country, but it possesses something that surprises many people: the largest ship registry on Earth. Thousands of cargo vessels, oil tankers, cruise ships, and container ships sail under the Panamanian flag, even though most of them have never been owned by Panamanian companies. This system is known as a flag of convenience, allowing ship owners from around the world to register their vessels in Panama instead of their home countries. The practice became popular because Panama offers a streamlined registration process, competitive fees, and a legal framework that appeals to international shipping companies. As a result, more than 8,000 vessels are currently registered in Panama, representing a significant portion of the global merchant fleet. Ships carrying everything from electronics and automobiles to food and raw materials often display the Panamanian flag while traveling between continents. The maritime sector has become an important source of income for the country and has strengthened Panama's reputation as a global transportation hub. This connection to international shipping extends far beyond the famous Panama Canal and demonstrates how deeply the country is linked to world trade. In many ports around the globe, from Asia to Europe and from Africa to North America, it is common to see ships registered in Panama, making the nation's flag one of the most recognized symbols on the world's oceans. Panama on the World Cup stage. For a country with a population of only around 4.5 million people, Panama's rise in international football has been remarkable. Football was not always the nation's most popular sport, as baseball traditionally dominated much of the country's sporting culture. However, over the past few decades, investment in youth development, coaching, and domestic competitions has helped transform the sport. Panama captured worldwide attention when it qualified for its first FIFA World Cup in the late 2010s, sparking celebrations across the entire nation. Streets filled with fans waving flags, singing songs, and celebrating what many considered one of the greatest achievements in Panamanian sporting history. The national team has continued to grow in strength and reputation, regularly competing against some of the best teams in North and Central America. Panama's players increasingly appear in professional leagues around the world, gaining valuable experience at the highest levels of the game. Their success has inspired a new generation of young athletes who dream of representing their country on the international stage. During major tournaments, football unites people from all regions, backgrounds, and social classes, creating a powerful sense of national pride. For many Panamanians, seeing their country's colors displayed at the world's biggest football events proves that even a relatively small nation can compete with far larger countries when determination, talent, and passion come together. The Panama Hat that isn't Panamanian. One of the world's most famous hats carries the name Panama, yet it was never actually invented in Panama. The traditional straw hat known globally as the Panama Hat originates from neighboring Ecuador, where skilled artisans have been weaving these lightweight hats by hand for centuries. The confusion began during the 19th and early 20th centuries when large numbers of hats were shipped through Panama on their way to international markets. Because Panama served as a major trade hub, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific worlds, many buyers assumed the hats were made there. The misconception became even stronger when photographs emerged showing workers and visiting dignitaries wearing the hats near the Panama Canal construction sites. One particularly influential image showed American President Theodore Roosevelt wearing the hat during a visit to the Canal Zone, helping cement the name in the public imagination. Despite the misleading label, the hat became a symbol of tropical elegance and practical design. Genuine examples are still handcrafted from the fibers of the tequila palm and can require weeks or even months of meticulous work depending on their quality. Some of the finest versions are so tightly woven that they can hold water or be rolled into a small tube without damage. Today, many people are surprised to learn that one of Panama's most famous exports is not Panamanian at all, making it one of the greatest cases of mistaken identity in global commerce and fashion history. A capital city surrounded by rainforest. Most major cities around the world have replaced their natural surroundings with highways, suburbs, and industrial zones. Panama City is different. It is one of the few capital cities on Earth where a genuine tropical rainforest begins just minutes from the downtown skyline. Visitors can stand among towering skyscrapers in the financial district and then find themselves surrounded by monkeys, toucans, and tropical vegetation within a surprisingly short drive. This unique relationship between urban development and nature is largely thanks to protected areas such as Metropolitan Natural Park and the nearby Soberania National Park. These forests are not artificial parks planted for tourism. They are remnants of the ancient ecosystems that have covered the region for millions of years. Scientists consider the area one of the most accessible places in the world for studying tropical wildlife. Birdwatchers regularly record hundreds of species within a single day, while sloths, agoutis, monkeys, and colorful butterflies can often be seen surprisingly close to urban neighborhoods. The rainforest also plays a practical role by helping protect water supplies that are essential for the operation of the Panama Canal. This unusual combination of modern skyscrapers and untouched jungle creates a landscape that is unlike almost anywhere else on the planet. It is one of the reasons why Panama City feels both futuristic and wild at the same time, offering residents and visitors an experience that few other capitals can match. The Scottish colony that changed history. One of the most fascinating and least-known chapters in Panama's history involves a failed Scottish colony that ultimately helped reshape the political map of Europe. In the late 17th century, Scotland was still an independent kingdom and dreamed of becoming a major colonial power like England, Spain, and the Netherlands. Scottish investors poured an enormous amount of money into an ambitious project known as the Darién Scheme, which aimed to establish a trading colony on Panama's Caribbean coast. The location was chosen because it was believed to be the perfect gateway between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, potentially controlling some of the world's most valuable trade routes. Thousands of settlers crossed the Atlantic, hoping to build a prosperous new society in the tropical wilderness. Unfortunately, reality proved far harsher than expected. Disease, extreme heat, food shortages, poor planning, and Spanish opposition devastated the settlement. Within a short time, the colony collapsed, and most of the settlers either died or abandoned the project. The financial losses were catastrophic for Scotland, wiping out a significant portion of the nation's wealth and leaving many investors ruined. Historians often argue that the economic disaster weakened Scotland so severely that it contributed directly to the political negotiations that led to the Act of Union with England in the early 18th century. In a remarkable twist of history, a failed colony in the jungles of Panama helped pave the way for the creation of what would eventually become Great Britain. The land bridge that changed the planet. Millions of years ago, North America and South America were completely separated by a vast stretch of ocean. The area where Panama exists today did not yet form a continuous connection between the two continents. Over time, powerful geological forces pushed land upward from the sea, gradually creating the narrow isthmus that would become modern Panama. While this may sound like a simple geographical event, its consequences were enormous and affected the entire planet. Once the land bridge was completed, animals that had evolved separately for millions of years suddenly gained the ability to migrate between continents. Armadillos, opossums, and porcupines moved northward, while bears, cats, horses, and deer spread southward. Scientists call this event the Great American Biotic Interchange, and it dramatically reshaped ecosystems across the Americas. The formation of Panama also altered global ocean currents by separating the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Many researchers believe these changes influence climate patterns worldwide and may even have contributed to the development of ice ages in the Northern Hemisphere. Today, Panama remains one of the most biologically important regions on Earth because it sits at the crossroads of two continents. Its forests contain a remarkable mixture of species from both North and South America, making the country a living museum of one of the most significant natural events in Earth's history. Few places have had such a profound impact on the evolution of life across an entire hemisphere. More bird species than two giant countries combined. Panama occupies only a tiny fraction of the Earth's land area, yet it is one of the greatest birdwatching destinations on the planet. Remarkably, this small nation is home to more bird species than the entire United States and Canada combined. Scientists have recorded well over 900 species within Panama's borders, a number that continues to grow as new observations are made. The reason for this extraordinary diversity lies in Panama's unique location. Sitting between North and South America, the country acts as a natural bridge where species from both continents meet. In addition, Panama contains an impressive variety of habitats, including tropical rainforests, cloud forests, mangroves, wetlands, mountains, islands, and coastal ecosystems. This creates ideal conditions for an enormous range of birdlife. Visitors may encounter colorful toucans, scarlet macaws, hummingbirds, parrots, herons, hawks, and the magnificent Harpy Eagle, all within the same country. During migration seasons, Millions of birds pass through Panama as they travel between continents, turning the skies into one of nature's greatest spectacles. Some locations near Panama City are considered among the best bird-watching sites in the world because so many species can be observed in a single day. Even people who are not dedicated bird enthusiasts often find themselves amazed by the sheer variety of colors, sounds, and behaviors on display. Panama's incredible bird diversity is one of the clearest examples of how a small country can have an outsized importance in the natural world. The indigenous artists who turned cloth into world-famous art. Among Panama's most fascinating cultural traditions is the creation of molas, colorful textile artworks produced by the indigenous Guna people of the Caribbean coast. At first glance, a mola may look like an ordinary piece of fabric, but a closer inspection reveals an astonishing level of craftsmanship. These artworks are created by carefully layering different colored fabrics and then cutting and stitching them by hand to reveal intricate designs beneath the surface. A single high-quality mola can require weeks of patient work and exceptional attention to detail. Traditionally, molas form part of the women's clothing worn in Guna communities, but over time, they have become internationally recognized works of folk art. The designs often depict animals, birds, fish, plants, geometric patterns, and scenes from daily life. Some even reflect modern influences, such as airplanes, ships, or technology, showing how the tradition continues to evolve while preserving its roots. Every mola tells a story and reflects the creativity of the individual artist who made it. Today, collectors around the world seek authentic molas because no two pieces are exactly alike. The art form also provides an important source of income for many indigenous families. More than just beautiful textiles, molas represent cultural identity, resilience, and centuries of tradition passed from one generation to the next. They stand as one of the most distinctive and recognizable symbols of Panama's indigenous heritage. Why Panama uses the US dollar? One of the most unusual features of Panama's economy is something visitors notice almost immediately. The country uses the United States dollar as its primary currency. While Panama officially has its own national currency called the Balboa, there are no Balboa banknotes in circulation. Instead, people use US dollar bills for everyday transactions, while Panamanian coins circulate alongside American coins. One Balboa is equal in value to one US dollar, making the two currencies effectively interchangeable. This unique system dates back to the early years of Panama's independence in the 20th century, when close economic ties with the United States influenced the country's financial structure. Over time, the arrangement helped create confidence in Panama's banking system and reduce the risk of the severe currency fluctuations that have affected some other Latin American nations. Because the country cannot simply print money whenever it wants, governments must generally maintain greater fiscal discipline. The use of the dollar has also made Panama attractive to foreign investors, international businesses, and retirees from abroad who appreciate the stability of a globally recognized currency. Prices in shops, restaurants, and hotels are typically displayed in dollars, although locals may casually refer to the currency as balboas. This system has contributed to Panama becoming one of the most important financial and commercial centers in the region. It is a rare example of a sovereign nation operating successfully without a fully independent paper currency of its own, making Panama's monetary system one of the most distinctive in the world. The city that pirates burned to the ground. Long before modern skyscrapers dominated Panama City's skyline, a very different city stood on the Pacific coast. Known today as Panama Viejo, It was founded by the Spanish in the early 16th century and quickly became one of the most important settlements in the Americas. Vast quantities of gold and silver from South America passed through the city on their way to Spain, making it a tempting target for pirates and privateers. Among the most notorious of these was the Welsh privateer Henry Morgan, who launched a major attack on the city in the 17th century. After advancing across the isthmus with a large force, Morgan's men overwhelmed the defenders and entered the wealthy settlement. During the chaos that followed, much of the city was destroyed by fire. Historians still debate exactly how the flames started, but the result was devastating. The once thriving colonial center was left in ruins, and Spanish authorities decided not to rebuild it in the same location. Instead, they established a new, fortified city several miles away, the area now known as Casco Viejo. Today, the stone ruins of Panama Viejo remain one of the country's most important historical sites. Visitors can walk among the remnants of churches, plazas, and defensive structures while imagining the dramatic events that unfolded there centuries ago. It is a powerful reminder that Panama's history was shaped not only by trade and exploration, but also by pirates, conflict, and the relentless pursuit of treasure. The shortcut that changed global trade. Few engineering projects in human history have transformed the world as dramatically as the Panama Canal. Before its construction, ships traveling between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans often had to undertake the long and dangerous journey around the southern tip of South America. This route added thousands of miles, weeks of travel time, and significant costs to international trade. The opening of the Panama Canal changed everything. By cutting through the narrow isthmus of Panama, the canal created a direct passage between two of the world's largest oceans. Today, vessels carrying automobiles, electronics, clothing, food, fuel, and countless other products pass through its locks every day. A journey that once required sailing around the stormy waters of Cape Horn can now be completed far more efficiently. The canal has become one of the most important trade corridors on Earth, connecting markets across Asia, Europe, North America, and South America. Its influence extends far beyond shipping companies. The canal affects global supply chains, consumer prices, fuel costs, and international commerce. Panama itself benefits enormously from canal-related revenue, logistics services, ports, and transportation industries. In recent years, the canal has faced new challenges, including droughts that reduced water levels and forced limits on ship traffic, reminding the world how dependent modern trade remains on this narrow waterway. More than a century after its opening, the Panama Canal continues to prove that a single engineering achievement can reshape the global economy and influence the daily lives of billions of people around the world. The islands that are slowly disappearing. While many people associate climate change with distant future predictions, some communities in Panama are already experiencing its effects firsthand. Along the Caribbean coast, particularly in the beautiful San Blas Islands, rising sea levels have begun threatening low-lying islands that have been inhabited for generations. Many of these islands sit only a few feet above sea level, making them especially vulnerable to coastal erosion, stronger storms, and tidal flooding. For the indigenous Guna people, these islands are more than just places to live. They are deeply connected to their culture, traditions, and identity. In recent years, some communities have made the difficult decision to relocate from overcrowded islands to newly built settlements on the mainland. This represents one of the earliest examples in the Americas of entire populations moving because of environmental changes linked to rising seas. The transition has not been easy. Families must adapt to different lifestyles, new housing arrangements, and changing economic opportunities while trying to preserve their cultural heritage. At the same time, the situation has attracted international attention from scientists and environmental researchers who view Panama as a glimpse into challenges that other coastal regions may face in the future. The story of these disappearing islands is not simply about geography, it is about people, identity, and resilience. It shows how global environmental changes can directly affect small communities, turning what seems like a distant issue into a daily reality for thousands of Panamanians. The Darién Gap, the jungle that stops a continent. On most maps, it appears that a person could drive from Alaska all the way to the southern tip of South America using the Pan-American Highway. In reality, there is one legendary interruption, the Darién Gap in eastern Panama. This remote region consists of dense rainforest, mountains, swamps, rivers, and some of the most challenging terrain found anywhere in the Americas. Stretching across the border between Panama and Colombia, the Darién Gap remains the only missing section of the Pan-American Highway. For decades, engineers have discussed connecting the road network, but the project has never been completed. Environmental concerns, enormous construction costs, difficult geography, and security issues have all played a role in preventing development. The region is home to extraordinary biodiversity, including jaguars, harpy eagles, tapirs, and countless species of insects and plants. Several indigenous communities continue to live in the area, maintaining traditions that have existed for generations. Despite its natural beauty, the Darién Gap has gained international attention in recent years because it has become a major migration route for people traveling from South America toward North America. Images of migrants crossing rivers and trekking through thick jungle have brought global attention to this once little-known wilderness. Today, the Darién Gap remains one of the last truly untamed regions on Earth, a place where nature still dictates the rules and modern infrastructure has not yet conquered the landscape. The Harpy Eagle, Panama's forest giant. Deep within Panama's tropical rainforests lives one of the most powerful birds of prey on the planet, the Harpy Eagle. Chosen as the national bird of Panama, this magnificent predator looks more like a creature from a fantasy film than a real animal. Adult females can reach impressive sizes and possess talons that are comparable in length to the claws of a large bear. These enormous feet allow the eagle to hunt monkeys, sloths, iguanas, and other animals high in the rainforest canopy. Unlike many birds of prey that soar over open landscapes, the Harpy Eagle is specially adapted for maneuvering through dense jungle environments. Its broad wings and long tail help it navigate between trees with surprising agility. The bird's striking appearance, featuring a crown-like crest of feathers on its head, makes it instantly recognizable. Unfortunately, habitat loss and deforestation have reduced Harpy Eagle populations across parts of Central and South America, making conservation efforts increasingly important. Panama has become one of the species' most important strongholds, with several protected areas providing safe habitats for these remarkable birds. For wildlife enthusiasts, spotting a Harpy Eagle in the wild is considered one of the greatest natural experiences in the Americas. The bird has become a symbol not only of Panama's extraordinary biodiversity, but also of the country's ongoing efforts to preserve its precious rainforest ecosystems for future generations. Before you go, I have a question. What was the most unbelievable fact in today's video? The capital city surrounded by a rainforest? The disappearing islands? The world's largest ship registry? Or the fact that Panama uses the US dollar? Drop your answer in the comments because I read every single one. And if you know another fascinating fact about Panama that wasn't mentioned in this video, share it below. You might inspire a future episode. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep discovering the incredible stories hidden around our world.